Xbox might be heading into one of the most defining moments in its entire history, and it all centers around a question that sounds simple on the surface but carries massive implications for the future of the brand. What exactly is Xbox supposed to be? According to Windows Central editor Jez Corden, Microsoft is currently having very serious internal discussions about its exclusivity strategy, and based on how he described it on the XB2 podcast, this isn't just routine planning or minor course correction. This is a very, very, very big discussion, the kind that could reshape Xbox's identity moving forward. What makes this especially interesting is that these conversations are happening at all, because for a long time, Xbox seemed fully committed to a direction that blurred the lines between platform and publisher, pushing initiatives like Xbox Game Pass, cloud gaming, and PC integration as the foundation of its future, rather than relying strictly on traditional console exclusivity to drive hardware sales. At the heart of this debate is something Xbox has been wrestling with for years, but never quite resolved. Can you truly be both an ecosystem first company and a publisher first company without compromising one side of the business? On one hand, the ecosystem approach makes a lot of sense in today's gaming landscape, where accessibility and player choice matter more than ever, allowing players to engage with Xbox games across console, PC, and cloud without being locked into a single device. On the other hand, the publisher-first approach opens the door to reaching even larger audiences by putting games on competing platforms, which can dramatically increase revenue but risk weakening the identity of Xbox hardware itself. As Corden pointed out, trying to balance both could lead to a situation where the hardware side begins to shrink, potentially resembling something like Microsoft's Surface line, still relevant, still present, but no longer the centerpiece of the brand. And this is where exclusives come back into the conversation in a big way, because no matter how much the industry evolves, exclusives still play a major role in defining a platform. When people think about PlayStation, they immediately associate it with blockbuster experiences like God of War Ragnarok or Marvel's Spider-Man 2. And when they think about Nintendo, titles like The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom come to mind almost instantly. Xbox, meanwhile, absolutely has had iconic franchises like Halo and Forza Horizon, but the messaging around exclusivity has become less clear over time as the company leaned further into the idea that Xbox is not just a console, but a service and an ecosystem. That shift has created a situation where players are starting to ask a very real question. If Xbox games are available everywhere, why do I need an Xbox console? What makes the current situation even more layered is the leadership context surrounding these discussions, because conversations like this weren't happening publicly, or at least weren't being emphasized, before Asher Sharma stepped into the role previously held by Phil Spencer. And almost immediately, there was a wave of criticism from some corners of the gaming community suggesting that she was killing Xbox before she had even been given the time or space to actually make meaningful decisions. The reality is that reaction wasn't entirely fair. Major strategic shifts inside a company like Microsoft don't happen overnight, and they're rarely the result of a single individual's choices. In fact, many of the challenges Xbox is dealing with right now stem from long-term strategies that were already in motion. And if we're being honest, there were plenty of moments during Phil Spencer's tenure where fans themselves struggled to defend the direction Xbox was taking, especially when it came to the lack of consistent must-have exclusives on the platform. So to immediately place blame on new leadership without context ignores the complexity of how these decisions are actually made and how long they take to fully play out. At the same time, it's important to recognize that Xbox still holds a unique position within Microsoft as a whole, and that goes beyond just consoles or subscriptions. As Corden pointed out, when executives talk about Xbox, they're not leading with cloud infrastructure or back-end services. They're talking about games, about franchises like Halo, and about the emotional connection players have with the brand. Xbox represents something different from Microsoft. It's one of the few divisions that directly engages with consumers in a way that's entertainment driven, personal, and culturally relevant. That kind of brand identity has real value, and it's not something you can easily replicate if you fully transition into being just another third party publisher, no matter how successful that publishing model might be financially. So now Xbox finds itself at a genuine crossroads, where every potential path forward comes with trade offs. Doubling down on exclusives could strengthen the console's identity and give players a clearer reason to invest in the platform, but it might limit the overall reach of their games in a market that's becoming increasingly platform agnostic. On the flip side, continuing to expand as a publisher across multiple platforms could maximize audience and revenue, but it risks turning the Xbox console into an afterthought, something that exists more out of legacy than necessity. And the truth is, there may not be a perfect solution here, only a choice about which direction best aligns with what Microsoft ultimately wants Xbox to represent in the years ahead. That's why these reported internal discussions matter so much, because they signal that even within Microsoft, there's an understanding that the current approach might not be sustainable forever, or at the very least that it needs to evolve. This isn't just about exclusivity as a feature, it's about identity, about strategy, and about how Xbox positions itself in an industry that's changing faster than ever. And depending on how this all plays out, we could be looking at a future where Xbox either reasserts itself as a traditional platform with strong exclusives, or fully embraces a new role as a global publisher that exists across every screen, with the console becoming just one piece of a much larger puzzle. But now I want to hear from you, because this is one of those moments where the community's perspective really matters. Do you think Xbox should go back to focusing on exclusives and making the console a must own piece of hardware again? Or do you think the future really is about playing anywhere on any device, with exclusivity becoming less important over time? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. And if you want to support the channel and get access to exclusive content, check out my Patreon, where my latest exclusive takes a deeper look at whether or not Xbox exclusives are truly dead. Until next time, game on.